Okay, so I want you to learn a little bit about the different generations, or we call them cohorts sometimes. Just ignore that phone. That you might have heard about. So here is a lovely little list of them all. Now, this is not an exact list, and these years, even as you read through all these sources that I've provided you, you may find that they don't quite agree with this. That's okay. I just sort of took this from some notes that an in-class group made last semester and sort of combined some of the dates to make it work. So, and some of them have sort of two different names, but they're really the same group of people. So what I want you to do is find out about some of these groups of people. Why? Well, look at this right here. This stuff matters. Now, this may not always be the most important thing to know about, but this has to do with how much people trust different advertising formats by these generations. So you can see in the world of business, in the world of marketing and advertising, they are interested in this stuff. And you can see, so these are, you know, like your grandparents, my grandparents, I guess. And then we move down to you. And you see these numbers changing, right? And some of the change is actually quite significant. Okay, I mean, look at this. Branded websites. Only about half of people who are 65 and over would trust advertising on a branded website. So they don't even trust Nike.com, whereas you guys pretty much do. Another thing I found, I came across, sometimes I like to Google and click on images instead just to see what's out there. So I wondered where this was from, because it's all about here's four of the different generations, so they've simplified things, but they've got work ethic and values, and then messages that motivate work and family life, so different things about them. And when I went, instead of viewing image, when I went to view page, to visit the page, surprise, surprise, this is all about how the generations behave differently, or how they would have to work differently and then work together as groups in a church environment. So religious people are interested in this stuff because it's impacting how their congregations, how the flock interacts with each other and gets along. So lots of interest in this kind of stuff. There's been books written, Boom, Bust, and Echo, one of the famous books written about the generations. Tom Brokaw, a famous reporter, TV reporter in the States, wrote a book called The Greatest Generation about one of these generations. So there's been lots said about these. All right, what are you going to do? Okay, down here. So after you scroll through and think, what is all this crap, Miss Burke? Here's the explanation, okay? You're going to go through as much of it as it takes, and I'm going to show you what those links are for. Basically, you want to collate or gather this information somehow. It's up to you what you do. These are your notes for future reference. If you want to make an individual doc for each cohort, do it. If you want to make some sort of slideshow, do it. If you want to make a table in this doc, make a copy of this doc because it's got all the links, and make a table in it, a great big old table, feel free. If you just want to do linear notes with headings and subheadings, whatever floats your boat. Remember, though, that in this electronic environment, you can use color and shading and bolding and different font sizes to highlight your key points, which is really, really helpful. So this information, this first this first point you already have, that's right here. And then these are the things that you're going to find out about each generation. What are the key events that impacted their development? So being a child or coming of age during the Great Depression or World War has an impact on people, generally speaking. Are they a large or a smaller group? So some of these, you may have heard of the baby boomers. They're a big old generation. I'm a buster. We're itty bitty teeny tiny, and that had an impact on us. It changed how we were brought up. How is the economy doing when they came of age? This becomes very, very significant. And what are some key characteristics? This is what we really want to get at. Or what are the personality traits and the values of people in this generation? Okay. Now, you've got a lot of links here. You don't necessarily need to use all of them. I'm going to say, so all of these, part 1 through 7, these are all from this Forbes website. Now, this took some time, oddly enough. You'd think they would all be in a list, but they're not. You have to go here, click continue to article, and it'll take you to where you want to go. But it took me a bit of digging to find all 7 parts of this. Why there isn't just a list in the corner here, Forbes. I don't know what you're doing, but it's beyond me why it wasn't better organized. So there are 7 parts, and they're sort of each about one of the different cohorts. But I would suggest that you Perhaps start with Time Magazine has some information about each of the generations. Maybe start with that and try and get a little bit about each of these generations there. These two down here, you're probably going to need to use because that was hard to find information. They weren't necessarily listed, I don't think, in the Time Magazine article. Then go back and use these other ones to fill in the blanks. And then I would say if you need to, for a few things, go through the Forbes articles. But don't start here, part one, just because it's the first thing and start going all through this and read it all. It'll take you forever. So sort of be smart about this. Use my little descriptions here and there about what's what. You will be using this information either for the unit test or one of the options for the assignment for this unit. One of the ideas I have is to maybe have you do some thinking about, do you think people in the greatest generation would get along with the baby boomers, right? Like what do they have in common? What do they not? And how would that show up in families, in workplaces, in churches if you want, wherever. All right, so that's what you're doing. Have fun, learn something.